This episode of the Lunch with Chris show is brought to you by my upcoming book, 30 Days to Limitless. You can find out more about it at limitless30.com.
This podcast is certified fresh. Freshmediaworks.com.
Welcome to the Lunch with Chris show, where your host, Chris Daly, talks with movers and shakers from all walks of life to get their opinions on important questions. Each season, there is a new question and new guests. This short, impactful show skips all the fluff and just brings you insightful answers from great guests. And now, doing his part to change the world in a positive way, your host, Chris Daly.
All right, I want to welcome Rob Berger from DoeRoller.net to the podcast. Rob, I've been following you for a while, and personally, I think you struck a chord with me because you said, despite the fact that I just turned 50, all hope is not lost for having a nice retirement. And so I listen to the podcast all the time. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Glad to be here.
You bet. So tell me a little bit about Doe Roller and the podcast, what
Sure.
all you have going on.
Yeah, I started Doe Roller in 2007 really as just a hobby. I was practicing law full-time and decided to start a personal finance and investing blog, and it just sort of grew into a full-time thing with a newsletter and a podcast. I'm working on a book right now, and it consumes a big part of my day, but I love it. And, I get a ton of email from folks trying to deal with all of the issues that come up in our finances, from retirement to credit, debt, getting out of debt. How do you invest? The questions sort of go on and on. Insurance, and I'm not an expert. I'm not a certified financial planner or an investment advisor, but I've been managing our own money for longer than I can remember, and it's just become a passion of mine, and it's been a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, like I said, the thing that struck me about Doe Roller was that it wasn't the traditional approach where you have to put away $10 a month for 650,000 years, and then you'll have $200 when you're done. You said no. You can supercharge this stuff, right?
Yeah, you can. It all comes down to your savings rate. How much of your income are you saving? And I've interviewed folks on my podcast. I've written about it in Forbes, where I have a column. Depending on your savings rate, you can retire in 10 or 15 years time, which is, a lot of folks use that as a way to retire early in their 30s or 40s. But as you've pointed out, another application of that are for folks that are, say, 50 and haven't started. Well, you ought not give up hope, because just like someone who's 20 can work hard and retire at 35 or 40, someone who's 50 can work hard and retire at 65 or 70. You just gotta, you gotta do the right things, and you gotta make some choices.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I appreciate that. Let's jump right into the question. The question this season is, if a teenager were to walk up to you and say, Rob, I am about to embark on a career, a life, whatever, I'm about to get started. Give me some advice. What would you say to that guy?
Well, that's a great question, and it's timely for me, although our children are just past the teenage years, as they remind me frequently. They're still at that age where they're just starting out. And, I guess I'd say a couple of things to them, and this is based on my own experience, is that, when you're younger, I think you have the greatest capacity to do whatever you want to do. Once you start having a family, you get sort of locked into a career. Can you switch? You can, but it becomes much, much more difficult. And so even a teenager, maybe even a high schooler starting out wanting to start their own business, or someone just out of high school or college, really that you're at your most flexible point in your life to do what you want to do. And I don't always tell them follow your passions necessarily. I think you've got to look at the economics of what you want to do. You got to look at the numbers behind what you want to do. But I think if you find something that you truly enjoy doing, and it might change over time, it did for me. Mm-hmm. If you find something that you truly enjoy, I think you'll spend a lifetime doing what you love. And I try to instill that in my son, who likes to look at how much each career pays. Right. And I say, Robbie, that's great and that's important. I'm glad you're looking at that, but don't look at just that. Are you really going to love sitting behind a computer screen writing computer code because it pays a lot of money? If you are, that's great. But if you're not, you need to look a little beyond the salary tables to pick a career that's meaningful for you.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely great advice, and you kind of echo what some other people have said, but I love the fact that you said, don't just follow your passion, because it's passion plus can you make a living at it? Basket weaving doesn't pay real well.
People follow their passions, and then they graduate with $200,000 in school loans and a liberal arts degree, and they can't figure out why their finances are a nightmare. And so you have to look at the numbers. It's got to be a balanced approach.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So Rob, a couple things. Tell me how people get a hold of you, how they find out more about Doe Roller, and anything you have going on coming up.
Yeah, probably the easiest way. Well, of course, you can go to doeroller.net. Subscribe to the newsletter is probably the easiest way. If you go to doeroller.net//newsletter. It's a free newsletter I send out every Saturday that has links not just to stuff I've written on Doe Roller or at Forbes or Daily Finance, but other articles from other bloggers, other websites that I just think are helpful for folks trying to make the most of their money. That's probably the easiest way. Then, of course, you can always follow the podcast. In terms of projects, the one I'm really excited about is a book that I finally kicked off. I'm far enough into this book that I'm confident that I will actually finish it. It's what I think will be a pretty unique approach to personal finance. It's not going to be, follow these 10 steps and you'll achieve financial freedom. But it's kind of going beyond that and looking at the numbers and how they play out in your quest for financial independence. So I'm pretty excited about that. Hopefully we'll have that out in the next 6 months.
Sweet. Do you have a name for it yet?
I do, but I haven't disclosed that yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
like it's some big secret, right? But yeah, I haven't. I've got a working title that I like, but haven't settled on it for sure.
I got you. Well, Rob, once again, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down and share your insight with us.
Chris, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Take care.